Hey everybody. I'm going to try a couple quick um, crafting lessons here on schema that I want to talk about here, that I want you guys to be exploring um, over the next couple days before we close out our study on schema. So we talked this week and last week about text-to-text schema, like how other texts can help build understanding for us as readers. And we did even look at the Billy Collins poems, and a lot of you found out on that Padlet and looked at it and said, wow, reading how to make a Billy Collins poem really helped you understand what he was doing in Cheerios as a poet. And I think that's like that's about as ideal as it gets for text to text schema, but it can even be so much as looking at something that happened earlier on in the text, bringing it through to something the character does later on. That schema from earlier allows us to understand that later action, or in a book series especially, understanding the character from the first book really helps you understand the character from the third book. All those things build in that text-to-text schema, uh, and they support each other. We're going to talk today about text to self. So we've been doing some of this text to self already. I didn't do this right away as schema. A lot of teachers really like pushing the text to text, text to self, text to world schema model, which comes a lot from Debbie Miller early on. She later moved away from it because she felt like it was pigeonholing kids too much to identify schema in certain categories when really a lot of these flow in and out and through themselves. So I don't want you guys to be looking at this as saying this is exactly the way it is. Kind of like the idea of background experience, background knowledge. They blend at a certain point, becomes gray. These do too. It's not these very clear separations. Sometimes it gets a little bit blended in here. But we're going to talk text to self. We're going to talk about how our background, our schema and experience, especially background experience, how that helps us understand an author's meaning. So I picked out a book called Love. And I picked out Love because I think Love is a tough book. Whenever I read Love, it's hard to figure out what Matt De La Pena, excuse me, is kind of talking about. And we're gonna read the whole book and we're gonna stop and pause and question and think. And here's your responsibility as learners right now through this lesson is while you were listening, I've linked a Padlet on our Google Classroom. And throughout this book, throughout this crafting lesson, I want you to notice and write down on that Padlet so you can pause and do all that stuff. I want you to notice and write down, record 3 things that you see me do with my text to self schema that you notice as I'm recording it and as I'm looking through it. Okay. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a quick thing right here, and then I'm just gonna start kind of jotting some of my notes as we go through, and I'll get you guys a copy of all of those. And then I want you to be noticing how I'm accessing my text to self schema. Like, how am I going about accessing it and acquiring it and using it? And hopefully I am not vague and I tell you exactly what I'm understanding from my text to self schema, because just saying that I understand the book better, that doesn't cut it. That's not what readers do. We need to get out of that. If you're still saying that, you need to get out of that habit, because that doesn't mean anything. We need to say what we understand from our schema or from our texts, from our readings. So I'm going to read Love by Matt De La Pena, and I love the illustrations. I already talked about that. Maybe I should use a different word. Okay. In the beginning, there is light, and 2 wide-eyed figures standing near the foot of your bed, and the sound of their voices is love. A cab driver plays love softly on his radio while you bouncing back with the bumps of the city. And everything smells new and it smells like life. I love the picture of this child giving something to what looks to be a homeless gentleman. It's interesting because both of them have a handicap. Love, too, is the smell of crashing waves and a train whistling blindly in the distance. And each night, the sky above your trailer turns the color of love. In a crowded concrete park, you toddle towards summer sprinklers while older kids skip rope and run up the slide, and soon you are running among them, and the echo of your laughter is love. On a night the fire alarm blares, you're pulled from sleep and whisked into the street where a quiet old lady is pointing to the sky. Stars shine long after they've flamed out, she tells you. And they shine with is love. I'm going to pause there. Actually, I'm going to keep going. One more page. But it's not only stars that flame out, you discover. It's summers too. And friendships. And people. So here's where I need to record. I'm going to do kind of a developing schema box here, and I'm going to start recording because I think I know how I want to record my schema on this for love. Because I think this book is kind of progressing. I'm just going to try making it into kind of that quadrant box that we had, where I talk about kind of something that I think about love, where I'm connecting and what I understand from it. It seems like he's saying love at first, the very first part of this book. He's saying love is in little joys. Right? I think that's his first kind of statement. It's like, I can relate to that. So my schema is that love, I love little moments. Like the other day, when Adeline was giggling, watching me juggle. Right, so that's my background schema. That little moment, I'm pulling it in. It's not from the book, right? It's from my background experiences and how it affected me. And so then what I'm pulling from it, my takeaway is going to be that I should be paying attention to those little moments. Okay, so that's that. But then now I'm on these 2 pages, those 2 pages that I just had, right? And we had the one where we're at the fire alarm blaring. And it says, on the night the fire alarm blares, you're pulled from sleep and whisked into the street where a quiet old lady is pointing to the sky. How scary that must be, right? So that helps us know this is a scary moment. So I'm already just pulling some schema. I don't want to jot this, but I can understand that this child here is probably really scared. Her house is on fire. And an old lady who doesn't know her says, stars shine long after they flamed out, she tells you. And the shine they shine with is love. Now, I don't understand that part. I understand this person's scared. We're not seeing love necessarily in this. That sometimes love disappears for a little bit. And then we go to the next page. But it's not only stars that flame out, you discover. It's summers too, and friendships, and people. Look at the boy, and the mom crying, and the dad walking away. This doesn't look like and the lamp turned over, and the chair flipped over. This does not look like love. And I'm accessing my background knowledge right now. Like, that is not a good situation. It's clear that this is not good. And I think because of this, I'm accessing my schema here, saying that sometimes things flame out. Right? Flaming out is a figure of phrase for it disappears, it goes away. My schema for this is that when I left for college, middle school, high school, after college, all these things, I had friendships that just kind of fizzled out. And I'm really connecting with the friendships and people. Sometimes those things just flame out. They drift apart. So I guess my takeaway bleakly is that sometimes things go away. It doesn't feel like love. That's a bleak takeaway. But sometimes our takeaways aren't always really happy. And I think it's a good one to go for. I want to see what exactly the opinion does with this because there's still a lot left with this book. And I don't think that's his point. Judging from my text schema, usually most children's authors are not telling you that all is vanity under the sun and everything is meaningless, right? So I wonder where he's going to go. One day, you find your family nervously huddled around the TV. But when you ask what happened, they answer with silence and shift between you and the screen. Boy, I'm not going to put this on there because I think it goes with this, but that reminds me of 9/11. And my dad talked to me about schema of that when President Kennedy was assassinated. And I thought you guys would really appreciate this. This is something that's in a very serious moment. Well, actually, how many of you are experiencing this right now with this stuff with COVID and the coronavirus? Maybe you've been experiencing this currently, this exact scene, and you have schema that connects to this. But I don't know this. The illustrator, Lauren Long, he added Mr. Burley right there. So there you go. But this can be the result. In your dream that night, you are searching for a love that seems lost. You open and close drawers, lift cushions, empty old toy bins, but there's nothing. I want to add on to this schema. I think it built a little bit. My other takeaway is that love can seem lost. Right, because I'm adding in all this schema from this stuff. Love can seem lost. It's not just from this, but it's just from terrible events. Right now, guys, I'm reading your poems. A lot of you feel right now like love in the world is gone. I agree. I agree. Sometimes it feels that way. It's scary right now. We're in a state that's not really affected, but our friends in New York are really impacted by this. Our friends in California are really impacted by this. So, yeah, right now, it does seem like there's nothing. Let's keep reading. You wake with a start in the arms of a loved one who bends to your ear and whispers, "It's okay. It's okay. It's love." And in time, you learn to recognize a love overlooked, a love that wakes at dawn and rides to work on the bus, a slice of burned toast that tastes like love. I think I wanted to pull out the love overlooked part. That struck me. I want to look at the love overlooked because I have schema that when I left home, right after college, after doing all those things, and I was kind of on my own, I really grew to recognize all the things my parents did for me to have that life. And I wasn't always the best kid. Mr. Burley, like you guys will, I rebelled as a teenager. It's natural. I, was sassy and argumentative and imagine Mr. Burley argumentative. But I was not always very kind to my parents. And you know what? You probably won't be either at times. It's just the way it is. Um, I think when I left, I really recognized love that I hadn't recognized before. And maybe it's not parents, maybe for others it might be like a teacher or a friend next door or something like that. And I can pull out moments of that too in my life. But I really wanted to hit this takeaway because of this schema. I really want to take away. I feel like I should look for what he put as love overlooked. Where is there love in my life that I'm just overlooking and taking for granted? Not granite, that's a rock. Granted. Okay, let's keep reading. I love that page, and I love this image here. Actually, Matt De La Pena, when I saw him speak, really talked about this image where they worked a lot on this specific one as author and illustrator. And it's love in each deep crease of your grandfather's face as he lowers himself onto an overturned bucket to fish. This book is just full of just trying to get you to access your personal schema, because some of you might be just, your schema is just firing with memories. I know mine. I remember fishing with my grandfather. Some of you may never have had that, but there's everything is just making fire with personal memories. And it's love in the rustling leaves of gnarled trees lined behind the flower fields. And it's love in the made-up stories your uncles tell in the backyard between wild horseshoe throws. And the man in rags outside the subway station plays love notes that lift in the sky like tiny beacons of light. And the face staring back in the bathroom mirror, this too is love. So when the time comes for you to set off on your own, heavy winds will sweep past your building and great gray clouds will congregate above. Your loved ones will stand there like puddles beneath their umbrellas, holding you tight and kissing you and wishing you luck. But it won't be luck you'll leave with, because you'll have love. You'll have love, love, love. Okay, so I think I have a big idea. My marker went somewhere. I think I'm going to put, I'm synthesizing this, right? So this is my synthesis. Well, I think this is still my takeaway from those last few pages. I think it still went and it proved that point. So I'm going to keep going with this. My synthesis is, love is in the little things around us. And the big thing I want to take away from this is I want to be looking. Okay. So this is kind of my notebook here. This would be my responding to the text, not about the text, right? About the text would have been a summary, but for this is responding to the text. I hope you did your responsibilities as a listener right now. I hope you found 3 ways that you saw me accessing and using my my schema. Okay. So not just that, oh, I access events from my life. Okay, like tell me more. I really tried to show you what schema I was relating to what part of the book and the takeaway that I'm pulling from it, right? So maybe those are some things that maybe think about in your own books and think about with this. Your next task, right? Your next task is going to be looking at the focus question. How am I using text to self schema to better understand my book. And then what I really want you to focus on too, how is my book changing me? And that's that synthesis part at the end. All right. So make sure you write your 3 things that you notice me doing with my schema and on the Padlet that I have linked. And then you're going to go ahead and get into your book for 35 minutes today, 35 or 40 minutes, and then respond. Okay. Thank you all.